it's Heather at Little Bird Blythe. Today I'm making a quick summer lightweight cotton dress for the chubby Blythe. What I've done is sketched a quick sketch of the pattern that I'm going to be using. So I use the dimensions that I'd taken from the doll body. I'm hoping this one fits because I've not done this style with her before. So I've done that, I've just put that onto a bit of paper and I've transferred the paper pattern onto some freezer paper, and what I'm going to do now is iron that onto my dress fabric that I intend to use. So I'm going to cut the back. I'm going to cut two of these. I've added a seam allowance into this already, but I still will cut slightly sort of outside the lines anyway, just to give myself a generous seam allowance. And I'm going to cut so two of the back, so I'll fold it over and cut them so that I cut them both the same, and I'll do this one, this is the front, and I will do this on the fold. So just the freezer paper has a shiny side on the back of it, and you can just iron that onto your fabric and then it stays in place and it just makes cutting a pattern out much easier. So I'll do that and then I'll be back. And just to save a little bit of time, what I've done is add some extra folded fabric underneath my patterns. Now I've ironed them on, and I'll then be able to cut out a few more layers. So now I've got my patterns cut, I'm just going to peel off the layer of freezer paper, and then I have my dress shape. So there we go. So we've got the front and the back ready to go. And what I did was just fold over and then stitch round the edges here. And so this is the back, and instead of cutting two pieces, I just cut one piece and made it slightly larger, and then did a little V or a little snip in the back, and then because that was folded over and stitched, then that's become a bit of a V, and you will then be able to slip the doll into that dress. So this is the front, so I've just edged around the armholes and the neck hole, and then the armholes and the back of the neck, and then the slot, just to allow a little bit of give so that the doll can get in. What I'm going to do now is pop these together, right sides together, and stitch down the edges to attach those together. So the next step in my little cotton summer dress for my chubby Blythe is to add a little lining. Now I wasn't going to add a lining because I thought, well, she's going to be wearing a little dress underneath, but I'm thinking, yes, I will line this one. And when I cut out the dress shape, I just cut out a lining piece as well. So I'm going to sew around the armholes, the neck hole, and back down the armhole to put those together, and I'm doing it right sides together. Obviously the lining fabric doesn't matter, that's only just a thin polycotton fabric, but the right side of the dress, so the dress with the actual pattern that you want to see, that is against the lining, and then what I'll do is I'll sew around there, and then I will actually turn it the right way out before I actually sew up the sides. As an added precaution, you can use something like fray stop on the edges, and then that just stops the cotton from fraying a little bit. I just use a little paintbrush just to paint it on. I've had mine so long it started to go a little bit thick, so I just added a little bit of water to it, and it seems okay, although I'm not sure whether that's really the sort of thing you're supposed to do. If when you've sewn around the dress you've left yourself a decent seam allowance, you can always trim that down afterwards so that it isn't bulky when you turn the dress the right way round. Just dab that little bit up. So for the two back parts of the dress, just lay those with the lining the same as you did with the front. So putting the right side of the fabric to the lining side, and then just use a couple of clips or pins to pin in place. And what we're going to do here is sew up the side, so this is the back bit that will be closing the doll dress, and that will fold over, and we'll pop a fastening method when we've turned it the right way round. So sew up the back on both pieces, around the neckline and around the armhole, and then leave it at that, and then we'll turn it the right way round. And then just turn your fabric the right way round. You can use a little tool, something like a blunt end of a paintbrush, just to get into the small areas. So the next step is to put the dress together. So those bits have been sewn together, and now what I'm going to do is sew the inside of the outer fabric, just to close that side of the dress, and the inner part of the lining fabric, and then that closes that side, and then you won't see any of the stitching on the inside, and that will attach the lining to the dress. Okay, so I've sewn up the side seams, and that looks all nice and neat on the inside, and of course I've pressed the seams down flat so that there's no bulk on the inside. Now what I'm going to do is add some press studs to close on these parts here, the little straps, because with Arabella not having much movement in her body, she's quite stiff. You can't move her arms a lot. You can move them up and down, but they won't move out, and they don't bend, and there's no giving them because she's quite a hard plastic. You need to have a little bit more flexibility in the clothes that she has. So I'm putting some little slap fasteners on here and also at the back, so it's really easy to just hook it at the top and at the back, and then it comes off really easily. So that's the idea. Now obviously I've not finished the edges at the bottom of the dress, but I'm going to be adding some trim to that as well, so I'll go and do that. So I'm going to finish off the edge of the dress, the bottom edge, and what I've done is just add a little bit of fray stop to the bottom to stop it fraying, but I haven't sewn it and turned it out, so it's still a raw edge. And what I'm going to do is add some lace on the inside of the dress, just so that there's a little bit peeking out, and then I'm going to add some seam binding that I have scrunched up. I washed it and scrunched it up so that you get this lovely ruffled effect, lovely sort of scrunchy effect, and I'm going to add that to the bottom. And when that's on there, possibly with a few beads, you're not going to see the base of that dress at all anyway, and that will have the effect of closing up the base of the dress. finished chubby Blythe doll dress. Looks really cute. What I did was add a couple of poppers on the little straps so that these can come undone, and it makes it a lot easier to get onto the doll. And I popped a little button on each side. Aren't they so sweet? Tiny doll buttons. They are gorgeous. They are available on Etsy, I've seen them, but I got these years and years ago, and they're trimmets, I think they're called, so they're great. And on the bottom I've added some lace to the inside, so I just tack that on, and then I put some of the vintage seam binding that was all scrunched up, and added some little faux pearls on there as well. So that's the finished dress, and I think now we need to try it on the model. So here's Arabella. She's wearing her little underslip, which was made from a similar pattern but from a different material, and this is a jersey material, so it's got a little bit more give in it, and I made it a longer length so that it would peep out of the bottom of her dress. So I've undone the press studs at the top of the dress. Now I can move her arm into place. And we'll turn her over and just do that popper up at the back and do the poppers up on the straps. Just readjust her undergarments, and there we go. There she is. And doesn't that look absolutely fabulous? It really suits her, that pink. I think now all I need to do is brush her hair, maybe pop a little hair accessory in. Doesn't she look cute? So there you go, that's how to make a chubby Blythe doll dress from start to finish. Thanks for joining me. Please give my video a thumbs up, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care everyone. Bye!